where people need to have sort of a shared understanding of things. So they are interested in the legibility of such and such memorial or monument, etc. And rhetoric is partisan or always partial, which means it doesn't always tell the entire story. It tells part of the story, and because it tells part of the story, and because of that and several other things, it's always consequential. That means it has consequences. Creating a sense of public memory that valorizes Confederate soldiers is consequential for how we see the Civil War or the War of Northern Aggression. So it all has to do as well when it comes to consequences of who has power, who doesn't have power, who continues to have power, who continues not to have power, blah, 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 blah. And then the last paragraph just reemphasizes this idea that they're particularly interested in issues of public. And so when we're dealing with rhetoric, we're always thinking in terms of civic issues, even as and political issues, even as we're interested in public memory. And public memory is always going to be political and civic. So, quick review of what I just talked about, and then I'll give you sort of an example. But I'm not going to give you the answers, because my job, I think, is never to give folks answers, but to just give students questions. You must go seek out the answer. Okay, so taking all that stuff I just said about rhetoric, what would be some critical probes or just some things that should always be in your head when you are engaging anything that is rhetoric or rhetorical, which again is broad. Anything that sort of invites us to see the world in a particular way. So what is a message, like a memorial, a statue, a gift shop, a deck of cards from a gift shop, the little hats that you can buy? Teach us about how, teach us about social reality. How does it make or make things known? How do you, this hat educates me about this thing. It tells me this instead of this, and through this particular medium. What does that say? What values does it supply? What does it tell us about our various being, our very being as a human being? What does it say about public problems or issues? How does it make audiences feel? What is the affect? How does the medium or material or mediation impact all of the above? Constrain it, help it along? Are the messages clear, ambiguous? Are they easy to decode? Again, doing a Michelle Bachmann here, because I'm looking at the slides. Easy to decode, what was intended, and most of the time, again, we don't care about intention. Sometimes we do, but it's much more interesting to see what people sort of interpret. How is the message partisan or partial? What is highlighted? What is left out? Who gains? Who loses from the messages? What is the consequence of the messages when it comes to issues of who has power in our society, who doesn't? What ideas are privileged? What aren't? And then tie all that stuff back to the public, to the civic, to the political. So if you do all that, you are putting on your rhetorical hat, your rhetorical cap, and thinking as a rhetorician, as a scholar of rhetoric would. And by the way, your rhetorical cap looks very much like this. This is what a rhetorical cap looks like. Woo pig suey. So, for instance, what is perhaps the most, I don't know, very popular icon of America? Yes, you. No, Justin Bieber isn't even American. What do you think, Finnegan? Finn? What do you think is the one of the most important icons of the United States? What do you think? Where he is? What do you think? Oh, Statue of Liberty. Oh, that was him. Yeah, that's Statue of Liberty. So I'm going to the web page here for the Statue of Liberty, and I found myself actually to Ellis Island, which is part of the Statue of Liberty National Monument, the National Park Service. And so here it has the thing. Yeah, the Statue of Liberty. Welcome to Ellis Island, it says. From 1892 to 1924, Ellis Island was America's largest and most active immigration station, where over 12 million immigrants were processed. On average, the inspection process took approximately 3 to 7 hours. For the vast majority of immigrants, Ellis Island truly was an island of hope, the first stop on our way to new opportunities and experiences in America. For the rest, it became the Island of Tears, a place where families were separated and individuals were denied entry into this country. And then it has some sections here. Meet some of the people who helped to make up the story of Ellis Island, such as the workers who kept Ellis Island running and helped immigrants make their way to America. And there's a link where you can go to people. The places in Ellis Island timeline show us how people have utilized this speck of land in New York Harbor for hundreds of years. The next bit, the stories of Ellis Island's unsung immigrants speak to all of us. Read some of these stories here. Our extensive collections help us learn about the histories of both Ellis and Liberty Islands through tangible objects. And here are additional resources to learn more about immigration. And then there's some stuff. So you could look at all this stuff, and this is rhetoric. And so if I were putting my hag hat on, if I was putting my hog hat on, and I was reading this and trying to decode it or interpret it from a rhetorical point of view, going back to, and we haven't even got to the other sections yet, but going back to the PowerPoint, these are some of the things that I want to think about in my head as I was sort of decoding all this stuff. What does the message teach us about the United States, about immigration? What does it tell us? What does it not tell us? What does it educate us about that? Does it supply certain values about the United States or about immigration or about other things? What does it tell us about being a human being? Does it say anything about past or persistent public problems or issues? How does it possibly make a consumer or audience member of this feel? That is, what is the affect? How does the medium or material or mediation impact all of that stuff? Here we're just looking at a website. Would it be different if we were there? And thus, how does that medium constrain the messages or help certain messages along? How does the links that I can go to this thing and I can go to this other thing and I can go to this other thing, how does that impact the entire message? Are the messages, whatever you interpret the messages to be, are they clear? Are they ambiguous? Are they easy to decode? And even if it may be through this, it's meant to talk about America, immigration, but maybe you get stuff about gender. Maybe you get stuff about race. Maybe you get stuff about family. Maybe you get stuff about class. Maybe you get stuff about whatever. And so what's there? How is the message partisan or partial? What's highlighted? What's not highlighted? One thing that was sort of cool that I noticed is that it does talk about the Island of Tears. Oftentimes we think that everybody who came to America, they were all, come on, yeah, it's the melting pot, yeah, party on. And that wasn't the case. So what's highlighted, what's left out, who gains, who loses, And then what are the consequences of the message when it comes to issues of power? Who does this privilege? Who does this disempower? That's interesting to think about. We think about issues of current immigration. Does it empower certain types of immigrants and disempower other types of immigrants? And then tie all that back to public and civic and the political. So in a sense, we could sort of make an argument about issues of immigration reform in contemporary American society, looking at all this type of stuff. So that's the type of hog hat I want you to be wearing throughout this class, and I think that's some of the stuff that we get from some of the initial pages. I'm at 22 minutes now, and so the next video will tackle the rest of the beginning of the introduction. And here, with 2 videos, we're only actually dealing with 22 pages. Take care, and I'll be back soon.